Hey everyone, let's just dive right into this. Every single day, millions of massive steel boxes are loaded onto ships, trains, and trucks, crossing oceans and continents to bring us exactly what we need. But have you ever stopped to really think about what goes on inside those closed doors? Today, this explainer is opening up the high-stakes, largely hidden world of global trade logistics. We're going to demystify the incredibly complex and honestly, sometimes explosive principles of containerized cargo handling and stowage. Because as it turns out, just throwing things in a box and locking the door is a recipe for absolute disaster.
To get a handle on this, here's our roadmap for disaster prevention today. We'll start with the risks of transit, move on to global packing guidelines, dive into segregating incompatible cargo, look at preventing odor contamination, and finally wrap up with load securing methods.
All right, part 1, the risks of transit. So have you ever wondered what happens when someone cuts a tiny corner in a warehouse, thousands of miles away? Well, a minor moment of negligence can actually trigger a massive chain reaction. The guidelines we're looking at today use a very specific phrase, avoidable negligence. The stakes here are just unbelievably high. We're not just talking about accidental bumps and scrapes. We're talking about human errors that lead to absolute devastation of cargo and, as a result, massive compensation claims. Whenever cargo gets damaged at sea, the investigation almost always points right back to how it was packed in the first place.
Imagine how things can go horribly wrong if you have a poorly secured pallet. If the strapping is loose, haphazard, and just completely inadequate for the immense mechanical stress of a turbulent ocean crossing, the container literally endangers its own cargo. If heavy drums break free, they basically become giant projectiles, smashing into the walls and everything else inside as the ship pitches and rolls. It's a total nightmare scenario.
Moving right along to part 2, global packing guidelines.
So, how exactly do we prevent all that chaos from happening? Well, packing a shipping container definitely isn't some giant game of Tetris left up to guesswork. The ultimate authority here is the CTU code. That's the Guidelines for Packing of Cargo Transport Units. These guidelines are backed by major global players like the International Maritime Organization. Essentially, these are the fundamental, rock-solid rules and basic principles you absolutely need to transport cargo without causing damage to the goods, the people handling them, or the environment. It is the definitive global rulebook.
But just to be crystal clear on what this actually covers, these guidelines do not apply to everything. They explicitly do not cover the transport of loose bulk cargo, road tank vehicles, or portable tanks. The rules we are talking about are strictly tailored for packaged goods loaded into standard transport units. You know, those classic rectangular shipping containers you see stacked up high on massive cargo vessels.
Okay, part 3, segregating incompatible cargo.
Now, let's shift gears from mechanical risks to chemical ones. Because honestly, sometimes the danger isn't that the cargo is going to move around and break. The danger is what happens when two perfectly stationary boxes just sit next to each other. The guidelines issue a rapid-fire, bold warning here. Do not load incompatible goods together. Stowing incompatible goods is incredibly risky. We're talking about explosive, toxic, or highly flammable reactions if certain chemicals or materials even share the exact same enclosed airspace. In this context, bad stowage isn't just about losing money. It's a literal, immediate threat to the crew's lives and the survival of the entire ship.
But hey, the real world of logistics isn't always perfect. Sometimes, strict transport legislation actually forces incompatible items onto the exact same journey just to ensure a complete shipment is delivered. When that happens, the rule to segregate goes from being a good idea to an absolute obligation. Shippers have to use highly specific protective methods and physical barriers to ensure these materials are completely isolated from one another, even while sitting inside the same transport unit.
Which brings us to part 4, preventing odor contamination.
This takes us away from crushed boxes and chemical explosions and into the unseen, microscopic dangers of stowage. This is where physical damage gets replaced by molecular damage. Listen to this incredibly specific warning. Do not pack odor-releasing goods with odor-absorbing goods. I mean, it sounds super simple, almost like common sense, right? But odor contamination is a huge, severe issue in global shipping. If you pack a really strong-smelling spice right next to a porous, sensitive material, you're going to completely ruin that second product without ever even touching it.
Let's contrast those two types of goods for a second. Odor-releasing goods constantly emit volatile molecules into the air inside the container. Meanwhile, odor-absorbing goods basically act like giant sponges for those exact molecules. It's a fascinating, albeit frustrating concept. Unseen molecular penetration can literally ruin a perfectly good shipment of premium tea or expensive fabrics simply because it had to share a container with something like industrial rubber or strong chemicals.
So how on earth do shippers stop an invisible threat? Well, they use specialized screening materials. Deciding exactly what to use comes down to three main screening factors: the duration of the journey, the duration of storage, and the material's resistance against molecular diffusion. Time is absolutely the ultimate factor here. The longer a container sits on a ship during a massive intercontinental journey, the more incredibly resistant those screening materials have to be to stop molecules from seeping in and ruining the cargo.
All right, finally, part 5, load securing methods.
Let's bring this all back to a highly tangible macroscopic level. We've talked about the rule books and the invisible molecular threats, but how do we physically lock down these incredibly heavy loads? Think about the heavy cargo secured on a rail car. It requires an intense framework of bracing, highly specific placement of stops, and an immense amount of structural tension just to keep a massive cylindrical load dead center. When a freight train accelerates or slams on the brakes, the G-forces are just off the charts. This specialized engineering is quite literally the only thing keeping that cargo from plowing right through the transport unit.
Interestingly, when it comes to rail transport, the guidelines actually permit two fundamentally different securing methods, and it's all based purely on physics. We have slide loading and rigid loading. Rigid loading is exactly what it sounds like, locking the cargo down so tightly that it basically becomes one with the rail car. But slide loading? That is fascinating. It actually allows the cargo a controlled amount of sliding friction. It intentionally lets it move just a bit to absorb the intense shock of rail impacts, rather than letting that shock shatter the cargo's rigid restraints. It's just a brilliant application of physics used to solve a total logistical nightmare.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. We've seen the dangers of mechanical stress, the explosive risks of bad segregation, the kind of bizarre world of molecular odor contamination, and the intense physics of load securing. So the next time you buy a product from overseas, ask yourself, how many disasters did it have to intentionally dodge thanks to these hidden rules just to reach your hands? The world of global shipping is an invisible, highly regulated miracle. Thank you so much for joining me to explore it, and I really hope you found it as fascinating as I do.